gentlemen, gather around because we need to talk about something that's been overlooked for far too long. Jesus was, in fact, a feminist. I know. Hold the pitchforks and let's not start a theological debate just yet. Let's dive into this idea and look at all the instances in the Bible where Jesus stood up for women. You might even find that the woman next to you could preach a better sermon on this than your Sunday school teacher. Let's start with Mary Magdalene, who was often misrepresented. Jesus chose her as the first to witness his resurrection. That's right, he didn't pick Peter or John. He picked a woman. And not just any woman, but one who had been judged and marginalized. Imagine that. Hey guys, I'm back from the dead. Let's tell the world. And who does he send? A woman. Talk about a plot twist. Now, let's talk about the woman at the well in John 4. Here's Jesus, breaking social norms, talking to a Samaritan woman, shocking for a Jewish man at the time. And he didn't just chat her up, he engaged her in a deep conversation about life, faith, and her messy past. He didn't shy away from her history. Instead, he acknowledged her humanity and gave her a sense of purpose. He empowered her to be an evangelist. If that's not feminism, I don't know what is. Fast forward to the story of the woman caught in adultery. Picture this. A bunch of men dragging her before Jesus, ready to stone her for her sins. What does Jesus do? He bends down, writes in the dirt, and says, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone." Can you imagine the silence? These men, with their stones raised high, suddenly become very interested in their sandals. Talk about mic drop. Jesus stood up for her right in the face of judgment and hypocrisy. This was not just about saving her life, it was about reclaiming her dignity. You know they've been serving up a feast of misogyny and hateful rhetoric. If they had a slogan, it would be, "Keep your rights and your choices." Oh wait, never mind. So ladies, it's time to rise and shine. Your voices can't be silenced, and your votes can't be ignored. Let's face it, when it comes to freedom of choice, women know what's at stake. Whether it's about healthcare, education, or bodily autonomy, your choices matter. In the words of Proverbs 31:8, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Who better to take that advice than women who have faced judgment, criticism, and attempts to silence them? Now, I know it's not all doom and gloom. Women have always been the backbone of this country, from the suffragettes to the women's rights movements. Remember, women's power is like a good cup of coffee, strong, uplifting, and best when shared. So, make a pact right now to fight for your freedoms, support each other, and never let anyone tell you your voices don't matter. And while you're at it, let's sprinkle a little humor in here. Remember how they say behind every great man is a woman rolling her eyes? It's not just a joke. It's a reminder that women have always been the real powerhouses. So, if Jesus had a slogan today, it might be something like, "Love thy neighbor," unless they're a misogynist. Then it's totally acceptable to drop the mic and walk away. As we approach these elections, remember the stories of the women Jesus championed. Their courage and strength are embedded in our collective history. Use that inspiration to empower yourselves and each other. Because at the end of the day, women are not just voting for themselves. They are voting for their daughters, their sisters, and their communities. Freedom of choice is not just a privilege, it's a right. So, ladies, step into the voting booth with your heads held high, knowing that you are the architects of our destiny. Jesus believed in you, and so should you. Make your voices heard, because when women speak, the world listens. And if you think it's a coincidence that the future is female, I have a story about a woman at a well that might change your mind. Remember, when you cast your vote, think of it as a prayer for change. And if anyone asks why you're so passionate, just smile and say, "Well, Jesus had a thing for women and I'm just following his lead." Thank you, and make your voices count.